Planar Podcast.
He's gonna just nibble on your foreskin, dude.
Record this, save this, use this against me in court, I don't care. LSUD in public, on stream.
Hello, one and all. Crook, Evie, our special guest Raiden. How is everybody doing today?
I'm wonderful. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Thanks to everybody who's watching in chat right now.
Yes.
Welcome to episode 1 of the Planar Podcast, whichever you want to say.
Yeah.
Like I said, special guest today, Raiden. Man, how are you doing? What have you been up to this week, if you want to introduce yourself?
Alright, yo, what's up? It's me, Raiden. I play Leon Akram, not to be confused with Leon Strife, the not a superior Leon on the server.
The inferior Leon, yes.
Yeah, I've been pretty good. Just hang out with some friend, got some boba, fucking ate some burgers, fucking good shit all around. How have you been, Gavin?
Not doing too bad. Now, remind me, are you in a car right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a car, dude.
So 50% of our podcast are doing it from inside their cars today.
Yes.
Listen, okay, but fucking there's like an outage or something. Somebody was doing construction on this major highway, and they knocked out literally everything. There's no phone, there's no internet. I just had to like drive 20 minutes just to come hang out in front of a Rite Aid. So
I do appreciate it. How you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you've been up to besides setting up in front of Rite Aids for a podcast?
I'm Evie. I play Pidge and Sophie on the sigil plane there. Pidge is my main right now. Sophie is my backup. I just updated her spellbook list from level 4 to level 8 because Pidge is level 8 now, so she gets to be level 8 too. So that's pretty neat.
And then rounding out our cast
Is the best one, obviously.
I can't even fight that.
Exactly. What up, guys? I'm Crook. You can also call me one of my many aliases, which I will not go into right now because we have a schedule. I play Avash, Avash Wolfren. He's the sexiest person on the server, and he shoots fire with his hands because he's good at that. But he's not a sorcerer because especially since he looks like one.
Wizard.
He's a wizard. And as for what I've been up to, fucking not much. I got here. We had stuff to do. My life's pretty boring, but my in-game life.
It's a pretty good start to get here in the first place.
Yeah.
That's achievement.
Yeah, honestly.
So,
Yeah, getting up out of bed.
So for those of you who are just now joining us, for those of you who might not be in our server, Raiden, can you do a quick introduction on what Planar Marches is from your words? Sorry to put you on the spot. I didn't even warn him about this, but we're going to let Raiden sort of introduce who we are.
Alright, so Sigil is an area that interconnects between all the known planes. Think like Asgard, but like a donut. And you got fucking Sigil. You can go anywhere you want, any place you want. Sigil's home to a bunch of degenerates like myself and everyone here on this podcast.
For sure.
Excuse me, Pidge's best boy?
Just because you call him best boy doesn't mean he's not a degenerate. So.
All right, yeah, you're right.
Best degenerate?
Yeah. That's pretty much like the setting here. There's just a myriad of possibility of what you can do, where you can quest, where you can go. Portals everywhere. You got portals to Plane of Fire. You got portals to people's home planes.
And just to bring it all back, right? That's the setting, and first and foremost, it's a West Marches D&D server on Discord, right? So
Yeah.
people who are listening in who aren't a part of it, you can go underneath the channel, down in the description. There's one panel that talks about Planar Podcast. You can talk to that. Get an invite into the Discord server. There's so many people who are willing to help you get into West Marches and get into D&D in general. Minus 3 who are in our podcast right now.
Yeah,
but
fucking rip those guys.
There's a minor army who are at your beck and call to help you just integrate into the server and have a good time, right?
Yeah, Crook and I are helpers, and Raiden is a moderator on the server, and basically we just battle for who can help first.
Usually, yeah. It's if we're in the chat and there's like a new person or someone asks a question, you'll see like at the bottom like 6 people are typing at once, and then half of it is just people spamming those several people are typing GIF though.
So since this is the first episode of Planar Podcast, let me just give you guys a quick overview on what we do on this podcast. We go over a few things. We go over state of server, some recent and current events. We'll talk about a few topics that have been brought up throughout the week, and we'll give Raiden a quick interview towards the end. We're going to take viewer questions at the end. We'll keep an eye on off-topic on Discord and Twitch chat. So go ahead and submit those in advance in those chats. But first I want to talk about state of the server, and what this section is about. What this spot is about is we want to talk about things that are server related, not necessarily D&D related, that have been brought up over the past week or 2 weeks. And one thing that seems to be a recurring topic, and it's been talked to death, but we just want to go ahead and give our advice and give an overview on it, is what are like some of the... How does the quest economy work? And when I say quest economy, DMs submit quests, and players take quests, right? Supply and demand. And there's a bit of economics is complicated, and so are quest economics. So I want to talk about 2 things specifically, and I want to get your input on this, guys. One pain point that is being addressed is how fast quests fill up when they're posted, especially in DM quest posting. So that really sums it up in a nutshell, right? A quest gets posted by a DM.
Yeah.
You say, please PM me, right? And that gets them added a few things, right? Like, how many sessions have you played? Or, what's your favorite type of beer? Things to get an idea of who's signing up. But where would you say the server stands on that? And what are ways you guys think it can be improved? Raiden, what do you think? You're jumping in and out of the call naturally.
He's driving, so he'll be in and out. But
Evie, you first then.
okay, basically, the speed at which every quest fills up is basically astronomical. As soon as they're up, they're just about full. What we really want to actually focus on is that people who haven't played a lot do get priority, and then lower levels as well. We're trying to get more people into that, as well as making quests for just about every level gap that we have. The highest level player that we have right now is 9, and I think Tooth was the first one to break that one. It was either Tooth or Dom's. They're
One of the two.
both insane.
Actually, I think it was Raiden. Raiden was the first to
It
break.
was Raiden. Oh yeah, because he's a DM and
He's a
tool.
DM, which is a whole other argument, which I don't believe we have a segment for, but we will bring up at some point.
Yeah, well, we're gonna handle one topic at a time, right?
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Okay, so just to add on to what Evie was saying, whenever a quest comes up, you ask people for recent, your last game played, which we prefer a lot of people to keep like a sort of like a list or a number of like the amount of games they've played and their last game that they've played, because a lot of the times people put up a quest, it gets filled up so fast, and we have this priority system in place so that everyone gets a chance to play, that it just becomes like this mad dash to like, you know, to sign up first, to get your thing on there, and then like, you know, the DM now has to organize everything, which isn't a bad thing, right? You'd have to do that anyway.
But the focus that we want to sort of push people towards is, hey, here's some. We're trying to. I think the idea is people in the server are trying to encourage each other. Like, don't, you know, you can run your own quest, but don't forget these guys here. It's one way to having a really healthy server is to focus on level 3 to 5, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing is, I think we've gotten to a point where our highest level people can't quest with our new players, right? Level 9 and level 3 is a big difference. And so we're doing level breaks now. But then there's going to be a point where more people are going to want to do higher level stuff.
Right.
Within like, we'll say like, let's say all the DMs, for some reason, their brains switch into like, I want to do higher level stuff for the higher level players, right? 5 to 9. That'll be like a week's worth of that. And then it'll be very minimal lower level stuff, and then the lower level players will feel like they're not getting much, which we want to avoid. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we don't want anyone to feel like they have to, you know, not play for a week. Like the name of the game is on-demand D&D, right? That's the point of a West Marches for the most part. So having
we're like a 24/7 server, so we usually have time slots for pretty much everybody around the world. Like one of our DMs, Maria, she's German, so she takes care of the European half. Hob is also a trial DM as well as a moderator, and he's English, so.
Yeah.
So I guess my follow-up question is, so DMs can do what they want at the end of the day, right? No one's saying you have to run 3 to 5 quests. You can't run 7 to 9 quests, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
But for the DMs who want to sort of help, right? What advice would you give them? How would you encourage them? Like, what are some ways to help other than just running 3 to 5s?
So, something I actually did once in another server was, I had this thing called the Carnival. It was another plane of existence where it was a demi-plane run by good guy at the time turned bad, but it was for any level. It was any level.
Mm-hmm.
Because all you did was play carnival games, and all you did was like your rewards were basically how well you did at these games, and there was skill challenges and skill checks for every kind of person, right? So there was like swimming competitions, and that was strength and con, and so the martial classes were pretty good there. But then there was also like spell testing and intelligence check kind of places. Yeah, trivia, like spell trivia. There was another place called the Menagerie where there was like archery contests. And like spellcasters who are long range were able to participate in this as well, firing firebolts into targets of increasing DC of armor class. There was a place for like the bards, the warlocks, like the social place. There was gambling in there. There was like performance. There was like this, essentially like a performance battle where think like two people, like, you know, musical instruments trying to battle it out with one another. That's kind of what it was. And they were doing performance battles against one another, and that's where the chicken race also came in from. I had this chicken race that, and
chicken race is
apparently
just
that was
RNG.
a smash hit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
Which
just
is
roll
how
a lot
the
of
dice.
crazy stuff happened.
You roll a dice and it goes in whatever direction the dice says, and it does whatever action, and they kill each other. Sometimes it's a good time.
If you've ever
So-
been in a raiding game, that's what that is at the top. It's
Yeah,
the chicken
you'll see.
table
There's still a
button.
macro there for it.
So your idea towards that is you don't have to worry about level for some quests. You can make a quest that is completely agnostic to level. Like, you can be level 3 and have the same amount of fun as level 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct, basically. And there was there was optional combat, right? And there was like not, and I could throw something super deadly at the party because they couldn't die here, because it's to have fun. You don't die at a carnival, right? Especially one run by a guy who controls the whole sphere, you know. So I threw. I think I remember I threw like a young red dragon at like a party of like level 3s to 4 or 5, and they had like one level 9. So the level 9 kind of had to carry them. But I almost like insta killed one person in that one. But I was like, yeah, no, you're not gonna die here. It's to have fun. You're in a carnival.
I think it's fine to do something like that when the players already know what they've gotten themselves into. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because as long as it doesn't feel like, oh crap, I just got insta-gibbed by this red dragon that just showed up in this fun time, you know, like that would suck. Yeah. But if you tell them like beforehand, like you can't die here, you're immortal. Fucking go run to that dragon to stab at his ankles. You know, it's a good time.
So that kind of talks about the level gap, right? We're talking about, hey, if you're level 3, you know, DMs, keep in mind you have a wide range of levels now in the server. In Planar Marches, by the way, for those of you who are not in that server, you can only have one active character at a time. You can't have repeat characters. So if you have a level 7 character, I had a server where this was a deal, right? If you're level 7 and you want to go on a 3 to 5, in another server, you would just make a level 3. Right? And so it became a very bottom-heavy server. But, so that sort of talks to, you know, I think there's this encouragement going on where, keep in mind, like, run a variety, right? And it's not a requirement, but just something that we've been talking about recently to be mindful of, right?
Yeah.
So the other half of it, however, is how fast...
One more thing I wanted to add in. I wanted to add in one more thing. Yeah. I think, well, this is just my own opinion, right? But I think people with, like, specific, like, very, very specific things that they want in, like, in a PM, or, like, people who ignore things from a quest discussion, a lot of stuff like that. I feel like that also kind of factors into kind of, like, feeling like an exclusion sort of thing, where you're not... where some DMs like aren't looking at certain chats or certain things, and I know it's like more convenient to get a message here and there, but like I feel like if someone tags you and like says like, hey, like this is my thing, and then you just like straight up like I ignore that because it's not in the PM, or like you're not following my specific format to the T, like I feel like that might also be a little bit of a problem, and I feel like that adds another hurdle. However small it is, right? It's not. We want to make the process easy. We want to make the process nice, and we want to make both sides have like get what they want, right?
Right.
You want the DMs to know, hey, this is the last time I played a game. This is how many games I played. Those are very like standard things that the DM needs to know. But like needing the name and the level at the third bracket, and then like you have to put Samurai Fighter in the second. And if they don't put it there, then like it gets kind of like, yo man, like come on.
So get the
anyone's been that like anal about it?
There have been some people.
I haven't seen it.
You know, I'm gonna raise my hand. I'm somewhat guilty of it. I like sort of I say like, please, I'll ignore it, but then I actually don't ignore it, right? But yeah, okay, so basically it comes down to get the information you need, but don't be an asshole about it.
Right.
Yeah, like people I've talked to who have said like do this in PMs for me, right? And then they'll have like other things like one DM I know they like to put type of reason why you're going on this quest, right?
Well, what if you have like a 3-sentence reason, and
well, no, here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's
the thing is they do this just because they want to make sure that the person signing up for the quest actually read the quest posting. You know what I mean? That way they at least know what they're getting into.
Right.
Well,
it's not even a requirement. Like they'll still put you in.
I mean, that's one reason why I am specific, right? Like, it's a minor gate, and I still think you kind of need like something, right? Yeah. As long as you're not an asshole about it.
For sure.
Okay, so the follow-up on that topic is, I think that you mentioned people not looking at certain chats. So, I mean, my advice would be, if you're a DM who's going to run a quest, don't just spring it, right? Don't just spring it in DM quest posting. Like, talk about it a little bit, right? It feels more fair that way, and that's a big perception thing, right? Like, people are having some grievances because they aren't at their computer 24/7 like some other people are, and they'll miss out on a quest because they are out in the living room playing with their dog, for instance, right? I mean, I think that if you, at least as a DM, say, hey guys, I'm going to run a quest in maybe an hour, keep an eye on DM quest posting, right? There are ways like that to alleviate some of the pain, right?
For sure. Personally, if I run a pickup game in the server, I will always I'll talk about it for one in the chats. So if you're even reading chats at all, you'll know that, oh hey, Crook's about to run a pickup game, right? And then 30 minutes before the game even starts, then I put up the quest posting, and then people start flooding my PMs with like all their stuff or whatever, or they'll type to me in request discussions, whichever works for them, and I'll get all their stuff together, and then I'll run the game that way. And I know a lot of other DMs run a similar thing, of just talking about running the game, put up the quest posting before the game.
For that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Toothless putting up games every day.
He's like, am I gonna run a pickup game today, or should I be responsible? Just kidding, I'm gonna run a pickup game.
I'll be half responsible and run a pickup game. He'll like meet it halfway.
Yeah.
I'll do some of my homework while
I'm gonna finish
prepping
at
this
least
game.
like 5 questions, and then we'll move on.
What?
But, that's definitely like the way to run pickup games, I think. At least the way it should be done. That way to avoid all this whole, oh, I was gone for... Unless you get that guy who's like, oh, I was not looking for my Discord for 31 minutes, and then I missed the... You know what I mean? Like, come on. At that point, what can you do?
Which, okay, so there's one other side to this, right? Like, the goal is to maximize fairness, right? Everyone who sees a quest posting should have the maximum... It should maximize fairness, right? Like, everyone should have an equal shot based on a normal person's schedule, right? Like, I can't watch Discord 24/7. You can maximize fairness, you can give a warning, you can ping. I highly encourage pinging. If you don't want to be pinged, then talk to a helper. They'll take your role out, correct? And you can...
Yeah, I agree with pinging. You
can mute your... There's so many things you can do. You can mute your server, you can mute channel specifically. You can mute the entire server except one channel, so you get pinged in request discussions. The other side of that is, how do you think there should be more DMs? Because the more DMs there are, the more quests that get posted. Very simple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always a lack of DMs in a West Marches. That's just how it is. We have 150 something, it's like 170 something, and like fucking 40 active.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a notorious lack of DMs, no matter what. Just because when we advertise and we look for more people, we also advertise to players as well. So we're getting more players, and then we're getting a nice trickle of DMs. And then anybody is welcome to ask for the trial DM tag. All they have to do is have basically just a deadline of what they want to do, and it has to be within like the next couple months or something. And then like a basic idea of what they wanted to run, and have actually show interest in running this. Like they're talking about it. They're being like, I'm going to build this thing. I'm going to make maps for it. Things like that.
Yeah, we don't have a very arduous process when it comes to...
it's really...
Because you want to make it easy, because you want there to be more quests.
Yeah, exactly.
What, okay, so that's kind of our call to action then as a podcast, right? Like, don't be afraid to DM. It'll help the server out. If you're a DM already, just keep in mind, right? No one's putting any restrictions in place, right? Like, keep in mind, just be mindful, right? Be mindful of the person who isn't at their computer, who has life obligations, but still wants to play D&D. So the second half of this state of the server, which is going much longer, is... let's talk very quickly about player requests, okay? So, one minor problem, and this will not really... I wouldn't call it a problem, it's just kind of the way it is. Are player requests not getting DMs, right? What are your thoughts on that? Just... First off, it's just a fact, right? If you are... It's much easier to post a player request than it is to fulfill a player request.
Yeah, so basically, and I think that this is... Like, especially, I'm absolutely guilty of this. If I don't think that I will have fun running this, I...
Oh, you want?
See,
there's...
Remember how live she used to be?
You're back?
Yep, a specific game type that, people are looking for, I won't run it. Like, if they're If it's like, oh, I want to go on a dungeon crawl, I'm fucking awful at dungeon crawls.
And that's not, and you shouldn't feel bad about that either, right? You don't want to deliver a bad experience.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. There's a lot of quests. Well, there's two things. I don't want to call anyone out. The first one is like sometimes a player will put a player request where it's literally just I want to play in a quest. I don't care what it is,
Right.
type deal, and that doesn't give me enough inspiration to really run a game. Granted, I'm not really inspired to run anything, period, right now. But I know for other DMs, they need a bit more to work with. That's the first thing. So if I had to make a suggestion on making player requests, make sure you have an idea for what your character wants to do, because yeah.
Raiden, what's the perfect player request look like?
Ooh, yeah.
Honestly, you got me on the other side of the spectrum where I crank out player requests like I can crank out a quest like it's nothing. I'm like a Chinese factory of fucking quests. Like if I look at a player request, I look at it, I read it, I'm like, okay, let me just ask this person some little bit more detail. I get some more detail of what they're kind of looking for, what they want, and I just have something in my mind. I don't know. I feel like it's probably because I DM'd a home game for a year, which actually ended up finishing, and it was like an epic campaign. So I got to do a lot of magic items around. I got to see them go to level 20. I had a different system of milestone and XP, and then I ran like 80 some games on another server, and so all this kind of quest knowledge and accumulation of things, like there's a lot of things I can recycle and use and just flavor it in a different way. I have maps. I have just so many things running through my mind for quests that I take a look at something and I'm like, okay, I can do this. It's just like whether or not I have the time, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm also in grad school and this is my spring break, which is why I've been like a maniac. I've been like, your player request, give it to me. Your player request, give it to me. Your player request, come over here. Like I've been running I ran I think 6 games already in the span of
2 weeks.
4 days or something.
Was it less than that?
days,
Jesus.
yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So
I'm
yeah,
like the other side of that
the
spectrum where I just get I can just get inspiration, draw something, and figure it out right away. Like there's a well of knowledge in my mind that I feel like I have. And maybe that sounds egotistic. I don't know.
No, I think I see where you're coming from, right? Because the more you DM, the more you know how to say, if I do this very simple encounter followed by this very simple encounter, surrounded by the context of your story, you have a quest. And I don't think that many players who are putting player requests are expecting epics, right? Like if you want an epic, you kind of have to make that on your own, right? Not saying you're gonna get bad quests and player requests, but so let's say that there are no server rule changes, right? Let's take that off right off the bat, right? That's not what we're here to discuss. But
Of course.
what I think player requests is something we'll have to watch in the future, right? But that also is just like DM quest posting. It's the amount of DMs you have on the server.
yes. It's not only the amount of DMs; it's the amount of DMs who want to run stuff, right? Because we have a lot of DMs, but we have a group of DMs who run stuff all the time, right? Tooth and Raiden, for example. Then we have a group of DMs who run stuff consistently, like Maria, and like Gavin, yourself, and I guess myself in a similar fashion, somewhat. And then we have DMs who run stuff rarely, right? Like Evie ran
Like me, hi.
we have Crush, who's getting on to his second game, I think.
Like his third or fourth.
Which is no knock, by the way.
Yeah, no,
if you want
for
to
sure.
DM,
He's
DM
good
as
at
much
DM,
as you
but-
want, or as little as you want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some DMs really like to take their time and prepare something really quality, and,
It's me.
and I think that's very and I think that's very admirable as well.
And then Raiden
yeah.
throws a bunch of mortars at you.
And then Raiden uses the same battle map for 3 quests. Yeah. See?
Yeah, he does.
So,
Don't you fucking! I love that underground battle map. Okay, it's so good looking. Don't you fucking shit on that one.
It's like, oh, we're in a dragon cavern, and also we're under the sea, and also we're still in that dragon cavern. It's the same map.
So those
Look,
are
that map is real pretty. Okay.
we'll wrap it up there for State of the Server. I think the overall idea is, as far as quest economy goes, just be mindful. If you're a player, try to find these trends of how DMs operate. But DMs, this is kind of on you, right? Like, do what you can to maximize fairness. Warn people ahead of time. Use your pings wisely. I think it's the player burden if they don't want to get pinged. Discord gives you so many tools. and just be mindful in general of the level gap.
Yes.
Next topic. Let's talk about recent quests of interest. We looked around a little bit, and we want to point out 2 quests in particular. Both of them are ongoing series, but Maria, who is probably sleeping at this time.
Probably.
Are you sure she's
Yes.
sleeping? I feel like she's.
I don't know if she ever sleeps.
Showing offline
No,
on
she's-
Discord right now,
she's asleep,
but
yeah.
she's gonna wake up to this segment. But we want to talk about Brave New World. So the idea behind Brave New World. I'm the only one who has not been on it, by the way, in this server.
I
I've
haven't
never
on
been
it.
on Brave New
Oh
World.
wait.
Oh wait, really? I
Well,
thought
no,
everybody.
I've
So-
been on one, but it isn't her new and improved. Like, I think is the Brave New World the one where she does the hexographer
It's the
thing?
hex
and
crawl.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Pidge.
did the other thing where she did other thing, but yeah,
Has
I'll
Pidge-
stop.
She has the other one where the world is ending and
Yeah.
you have to go. They know it's ending, but you have to go like save some shit and try and not let it end.
Prevent the world from ending as badly
yeah.
as it would be. Yeah,
Oh god.
that's the idea of the quest. She's
Yeah.
kind of 2 ongoing quests, but the main one I believe is Brave New World because it's kind of like her own take on what I describe it as a West Marches in a West Marches.
Pidge.
Right.
Has Pidge been on Brave New World quest?
Yeah, Pidge has. We actually we went on a complete tangent on that one, and we just were not anywhere near where we originally meant to go, which is exactly how she intended it to be ish. But he ended up going to this arena battle, picking a fight with some
Hold that
royal
thought.
guards.
I got a follower and I played the music, so I need to disable that music really quick.
Oh, okay.
Do that.
Just you had a guitar riff in the background for a little bit there.
Nice. Did it
let's-
sound epic?
It did sound pretty epic. I wonder if there's a way to like pause that for a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll do. No, I can't do that.
I believe in you.
Huh. Gotta take some. Okay, you know what? If you follow, you get a guitar riff in the podcast
Nice.
until I figure that out. Yeah. Which, by the way, we'll have a lot later. I have some. It's gonna have a guitar riff for like the next 5 minutes, but
Alright.
continue.
Yeah, he ended up picking a fight with some royal guards because he wanted to pet a lion because he's a sensate and he saw a lion and he's like, I want to fucking pet that lion. And then the other sensate on the quest was like, absolutely, or let's go pet that fucking lion. And then it was a city of dwarves that only spoke Dwarvish. And only 2 people on our quest actually spoke Dwarvish, and neither of them were near the lions at the time. And everybody started drawing crossbows, and Pidge's fiance Rezak was on there, and he was getting a crossbow shot at him, and then Pidge panicked and shot arrows at them. There was a huge bar brawl, and then at the end there was a decision whether or not we had to kill the queen, because it turns out she's a horrible tyrant.
Jeez. Yeah, so it kind of
yeah.
fall into place.
Yeah, I wanted desperately to take the shot, but fucking Pidge's fiance holding him back once again.
Just holding him back from his murderous tendencies despite
Listen,
being
it wasn't
supposedly
even
the best degenerate. Yeah.
It wasn't even like murderous tendencies. It was like she wanted this guy to literally get quartered, and he was like, "Wait, what?"
You say his name. Mac puts in chat.
What?
You say his name wrong in this podcast. Now everyone's
Listen.
gonna pronounce it that.
I can never pronounce it right.
No one
and
can pronounce it
He even
right.
walks me through it, and then I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. I fucking." It's
Listen.
our dog. Our dog. His name is
Listen.
Yali. I call him that.
Listen, it's Raz, right? R-A-Z, and then Ruz, R-U-Z-Z. Thank you.
So I got follower alerts disabled for now. It doesn't mean I don't want
Proud
you
of
to
you.
follow me, but so that's Brave New World. Just Pidge or Evie's giving you the sort of specifics about it in general, and keep an eye on it. Ask Marie if you have any questions specifically, but
Yeah.
like Crook said, it's a West Marches and a West Marches hex scroll.
Yeah, you basically uncover every hex as you go forward, and you can pick a direction and just go in that direction. So
And
it's
one
pretty
of
fun.
one of my favorite parts is this is really just something only me and her can nerd out about. But she inspired it after the game Pyre, a Supergiants game. So there are guys who made Bastion and Transistor, and that game has the idea that you're in a wagon, you're traveling across essentially this purgatory plane. And she always plays that music when she's running that quest. You've got like the kind of the minstrel bardish sounds. Like thematically, I'm a big fan of it, and I can't wait to join one myself. The second quest that we want to highlight, another one that's not necessarily a sandbox, but a quest line, is the Pomikos quest line by Seastar. So
It is also a sandbox.
Actually,
You
yeah.
can just
It
you
is.
can just he pops up a map and he's like, here's all the towns that you can go, and they're all named after authors, and I fucking love that. They're like there's Rolling Hills and the
Rowling
the Rowling Hills, and then the Poe Forest or whatever, Dickinsonshire.
Yeah.
And they're all like really cool author names, and he's like, you know what, you can pick whatever you want, and then it'll show like, here's where the other people have been, and then here's where everybody has, and then the professor gives you little details on like what, and it's that. It
it's
gives
very
you
tongue in
details.
cheek, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah, it's
It's
the
a
idea
very-
is just Pokemon. Yeah.
Well,
Kinda
well
like-
don't
Definitely not
say it out
full.
loud.
Wait, okay, right, never mind. It's not Pokemon. Definitely not Pokemon.
Okay.
But it's a system where you find monsters in the wild and you capture them and you can train them and stuff. And that's kind of like it's the theme of the quest line, right? Is capturing these monsters. But the idea of like having a place where you kind of end up in a spot and you save your location, right? And then when you bring in a new group of players, they show up there and then they continue on from where the last group left off.
That's
just
pretty cool.
gathering information. It's a really neat little thing.
So in typical West Marches, right? The one of the fundamental rules that you can bend a little bit though is you always end up back at the starting city, and for us it's Sigil, and that's kind of a twist on that, right? Like in universe explanation, like no, you end up where the last party quit.
Yeah.
Okay, you call it a save point. Is that what Connor calls it?
Basically. Because
Amazing.
it's wherever you spent a long rest at, I believe,
Okay.
or something like that. You spend a good while in a place, and then the next people who come in just kind of show up there, and it's like, oh, where do we want to go now? Oh, well, this sounds cool. Or you can like, another thing we did is we talked to a lot of people nearby, asking about the monsters we wanted to personally find, and one of the players, which I believe was Maria, mentioned that she wanted to find a bird that she could capture. And so, like they pointed us in all these different directions. We're like, oh, we'll go to the Rowling Hills because that's probably where birds like to be in plains and stuff. So that's where we went. And lo and behold, we found birds. It was great.
So at the end of the day, if you want the Western take on a beloved Eastern franchise parody, then keep an eye on Seastar's quests for the Pomikos quest line.
Pomikos, yeah.
Pomikos, the monsters are Pomicons, I believe.
Pomikos.
Yeah, or just monsters, because
Just monsters.
Pitch has a little bull daughter that he keeps on his desk because their apartment is too small to have her be out.
And yeah, that's I guess that's the final part of it is
Okay,
you
I
actually
just
do
gotta-
capture them.
I actually got a correction.
Okay.
The party can choose to start anywhere the previous party had
Yeah,
discovered.
yeah.
So that's what they are. So you can, it's wherever the last party kind of ended up. You don't end up specifically where they are. You can just kind of.
So it's
be
pretty.
there.
You can fly to wherever you want to go. Okay.
You can
Yeah, so
fly.
basically it's everybody gets a little, definitely not a Pokedex, and then they can scan the monsters and the
Yeah.
people and the places, and then it'll show up on their map the next time.
It's not a Pokédex. It's a Pomopad.
Pomopad.
I believe.
What are they called? I don't know.
I think it's like an encyclopedia. or
I'm
something?
copywriting
I
that.
don't know.
Pomopad? Yeah.
I'm copywriting
That's
that.
definitely what they're called.
Um,
That's what they have to be called now. That
there's
on the podcast.
there's one more There's one more quest series that we want to talk about, and that's Verdankai. But we'll catch up to that later when we talk to Raiden in more detail. Current events. Next topic. So there's not much. Evie, you said you were going to do something with text RPs. Do you want to maybe tease that a bit or announce it? Up to
Yeah.
you.
So if you're you've never heard of the server before, we actually have a huge, it's a pretty overwhelming part of the portion on the sidebar there that is dedicated entirely to text-based RP, which is set outside of actual quest lines and doesn't have any mechanical benefits, but it's mostly just so people can get together and actually like talk to each other even if they are not in a quest line. So they could technically have met before without actually having met in a quest.
Combine that with the difficulty in joining quests sometimes. If you didn't have a way to RP in text, you might not get to play your character for about once a month or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like there's the Serendipity Dive Bar, the Hufflehog Cafe, there's all of the wards of Sigil and everything there. And then you can all just pick a place and it exists. Just for the sake of roleplay and no mechanical benefits or anything like that again. But like there's a lot of stuff that's been going down in there. I read pretty much all of the channels. Gavin, I think you have just the Serendipity.
I only check my channel, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Because the way I look at it is I play it true to character, right? I play Anna. I didn't mention that at the start, and she owns Serendipity, and I try to play it straight to the character. Like, she doesn't leave the bar that often, so I only read chat that happens in the bar, and that's a personal restriction, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to do that to yourself. I know other people who straight up just don't read RPs that they're not in.
Because you don't have time.
I also
as well.
know people like Evie and myself who read all of it, or at least skim it for the most part.
I skim. If it's like two people and it starts to look pretty personal and it's like involves characters that I want to actually know, like G is Fragger's backup and she looks really interesting and I don't want to like spoil myself on her backstory before I get the chance to actually meet her as one of my characters. So that's always fun because you can go as deep into reading other people's backstories as they let on, or just ignore it completely and then just talk to them only in quests. Right now, the major things that happened last couple weeks, Anna died, Vlad died, Leon died, all of them came back. Pidge died as well for like a minute and got life punched immediately by Lorila.
Does that count? Does that count? Mechanically,
he
it counts.
Died.
Mechanically, it counts. But do you write it up like Pidge died, or he gets resuscitated?
He died.
Okay.
He died.
I wanna go ahead and say that this is the inferior Leon that died, not the superior Leon.
There's a reason why the superior Leon is the superior Leon, because he doesn't fucking die.
That's why we invite Ray. That's why we invite Ray into the show and not
exactly.
Kai. I love you, Kai.
Poor Kai.
Gosh.
So Pidge actually did die, and it became relevant in text RP because he has an item called the Butterfly Mask. And this mask was given to us by Dons on one of his article quests, and it basically is a mask that, when it's put on your face, it doesn't come off until you die or the other person who has the sister mask dies. And Rez is Pidge's fiance, and he was at home, and his mask just fell off, and he was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And Pidge was like, "Oh yeah, my mask, it fell off. I'm just gonna plop that back on. That's not gonna have any repercussions." Then he gets home and Rez is like, "Hey, what the fuck happened, bruh?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh."
It was a very sad thing to read. But it's just shit like that just happens. Like when people die, a lot of people can either just write it off, right? As just like, oh, he died, but he came back. Everything's good now. Or they can just straight up like, I freaking died. Like that could just happen again, and then maybe next time I won't be as lucky, you know? And it really just depends on like the character, right? How much impact you want to put it on yourself. Like I know, like when Anna died, she took it pretty hard as well, and so did all the other, people who knew Anna. They took it hard, and it's just, death in a roleplay heavy, and I call Planar Marches a roleplay heavy server because
it's really what you put in. What you put in is what you get out.
Yeah, for sure.
There are plenty of people who go on quests daily. I think Jolly Link is a character, for instance, who goes on a ton of quests but doesn't RP very much.
Yeah.
Right. I
I'm
mean,
guilty of that as well.
which isn't, that's you put in what you get out, right? Some people only want to do quests. Some people don't really want to roleplay their character. Which I don't want to talk about this episode, but there is something to say about quests that say you can only join this quest if, or stuff like that. That's a separate topic. I was gonna talk about character deaths, but I want to keep on going on. We're gonna sort of we'll save that for later. There's a big mechanical argument to how to handle character death. Do you handle it straightforward like the book suggests, or do you roleplay the entire scenario out? We're gonna push through that for now. I think you guys touched on it briefly enough. Raiden, you're our guest today. Just to say, me, myself, Gavin, Crook, and Evie, we're gonna be your main host throughout Planar Podcasts. But Raiden is our guest today, and we want to get to know you a little bit better. So, Raiden, what should we... First off, introduce yourself again. What should we know about your character that you want us to know that you've not been asked yet?
Well, I'm Raiden, again. Play Leon, Akram, on the server. And I don't know, he's a pretty straightforward character. I guess the only thing that I'm going to add on is that, like, he was a character I played in a campaign that kind of fell through, scheduling wise. But I had created a bunch of story elements, and one of the cool things was another player during that campaign had come up with a similar backstory as me, and so he and I ended up coming together and tying our backstories together because we were. He was like a prince, and I had put myself as some kind of offshoot prince that had been thrown off a castle into a river and was raised by the common folk, that kind of trope, something about it at the time. I was playing a lot of Dark Souls too, so I had a lot of it was I had this whole town and thing that I wanted to create and call him Cinder Prince because I was yo, Lords of Cinder, fucking Dark Souls 3, I fucking love that shit right now. Sadly, we were playing in Faerun, so I couldn't do that. But I kind of intertwined it into his weapon. The weapon had some kind of thing inside of it that was very flame related. Sadly, nothing kind of came out of that, again, because the campaign died. But that's basically kind of a little bit of backstory, small little backstory of that character.
Okay.
He's also really dumb. I think everyone already knows that.
His headband keeps his brain in.
A very neat little little detail given to us by our wonderful meme artist Casey.
Yeah.
Very
Shout out to Casey.
So that's some of your character backstory. What's some of Raiden's backstory that you want to share that we should know? So just to mention, by the way, so Raiden is a moderator in Planar Marches. You should be seeing him a decent amount, right? He's a regular. So what should these people? What should our server know about you?
I'm pretty chill, dude. Because I lived next to the beach.
Pretty cool.
That's a pretty on the spot stereotype, to be honest. If you live near the beach, you're pretty chill.
Do you have a surfboard in your room somewhere?
I don't. I like to tell people that. Did I at any point? No surfboards, none of that. I had a boogie board. I mean, I don't know if that counts, but I tried to step on that once. I fell off real fast.
That's the land. I mean, that's the land version of. Go. Close enough.
We'll accept it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and just very chill, dude. You can come to me, talk. I'm a pretty degenerate person, so you'll probably figure that out real fast. Depending on who the hell is in the voice chat with me, you'll hear a lot of not things I won't say now, but things people may tell you about me. Or you can just look at quotes, and you'll see a bunch of degenerate shit that I've already said. I've been quoted literally 4 times already in the past 2 days.
I have some pretty vulgar stuff in my PM box with Raiden.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're. Oh no! No, Gavin can out me like instantly, dude. Gavin
Yeah.
will just Gavin just show you all of the PMs that I sent him,
Just
and like it'll just end my life.
If
never
I
put Gavin on as a reference for a job.
if
Never.
I bleeped out his PMs, it would be mostly bleeps and the occasional article and.
And fist. You also see fist.
A
On
lot
there.
of fist. There's a lot of
Yeah.
fist in there.
What Crook, Evie, do you have anything you'd like to ask Raiden?
Why don't you look at me during?
Why?
If you look at the sidebar, you will see that it says hitting it from behind. That's what I'm playing.
Yeah, you really.
And that's basically my signature move. So that's why.
This is what you get when you when you get into planar marches, guys. It's
Welcome
just
to
this.
Planar Marches.
Welcome to planar marches. First episode of the podcast. Let's go.
So
Yeah, I don't really have any questions for him.
then let's head on to the main topic for you, Raiden. You run a quest line, and we've talked about at length amongst you three. I've never been a part of this. I intentionally didn't look
You
up.
were a part of it.
Was I?
Yeah, it was a pickup game. You were. You remember when you went into that dungeon thing? Yeah, you were in that world, dude.
What?
You remember the huge map?
He was really tired. He was really tired at the time.
I don't remember this at all.
Remember that girl that you saved under the in the dungeon, and like there's like a ranger that you fought and some knight, and Brong was on the quest with you.
I do remember this. I remember this. Okay. So for those those of you with better memories, Crook, Evie, please save me. Tell me a bit about the world. Why should players be interested in joining your Verdankai quest?
Legendary items.
There's legendary items that we want. You can only if you're not a DM, you don't know. But out of character, because we've already heard about these and have actually discovered a few, but aren't allowed to touch them because they're sacred. But there were like past heroes who have left behind artifacts that the players can potentially get their hands on if they are so inclined to do so. And that's really neat because everyone knows magic items make the world go round in a West Marches game.
Yeah, Pidge actually got his talons on a greatsword, which he can't use. So he gave it to Faceless's character, Matthias, and now he has the legendary greatsword, which is just in its dormant state, it's just a +1 greatsword.
Yeah, they start dormant. They're not like immediately
Yeah.
legendary. Like you're not a level 5 getting a staff of the Archmagi or whatever. You know what I mean? Because that would just break everything.
So
but you get like a little thing, and then it could become something greater.
So does anything that happens in Verdankai have any implications on Sigil? Not the city itself, but let's say that Gavin didn't go on the quest that he doesn't remember. Would Anna ever have a chance of hearing anything about Verdankai?
She absolutely would, mostly because there's a lot of people that go to Verdankai that talk about Verdankai. There's notices on the bulletin board that are like, there are coordinates that we found and we don't know where they lead. And then we actually ended up finding the rest of those coordinates by teamwork and going together to actually find where they led. This turned out to be just this random legendary dude's house.
Just some cabin. Just some cabin.
It
on
really
beach somewhere.
was a
Literally,
cabin.
it's
Like
his
he's a
shitty
drunk.
cabin. Like,
Yeah. It was a really interesting thing because he's a great hero, but he's the only one who's still alive, I think, because of some crazy mishap.
As far as you guys know.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
So we'll keep going. So if I'm a new player and I want to join a Verdankai quest, what do I need to know? What's like the level limit on this? How do you typically run this quest?
Raiden is a fucking pickup game master, and he sets it in there, didn't he?
For the most part, I go ahead and like, depending on the level, right? I will have like a small mini mission from here and there. Like there could be like, defend this village, do this thing, do that thing. But the world, I try to make the world feel very alive, and so therefore, like I try to make whatever scenario happen from other groups that have been in this area, I try to make like an impact happen. So there is like a demon lord, multiple of them, that the party has witnessed. They fought one, they've encountered one, and then ran away. And one of them is like in the icy region up top, the north, the province of Aurora is what I call it. And his name is Kronos. He's this really powerful, like, demon magic user. And actually, while Cynosure, Romulus on the server, was out bobsledding back to the crew to get their reward,
That's all I need to
he
know.
appeared.
We can
I
cut the
rolled a
show
4.
now.
It was a 10% chance that I'll reveal the DM screen. It was a 10% chance that he would show up, and he did. And then I rolled whether or not he was interested in them, and I rolled a very onto the dot minimum that he was like not interested. So he almost died, but was eventually kind of able to go away. But like threats like these, I try to like leave around, or just different impacts in the world. I also mark things on the map, so when people look at the map, they'll see like, hey, what's this over here? This is something that someone discovered as well, and so it kind of gives
So
the party that
it's a
goes with
living
more
world.
information.
It's a living world. So that is a quick little primer on Verdankai. That's Raiden's ongoing quest line. If you have any questions about that, ask Raiden. When do you think your next Verdankai quest is going to be? If you want to tease that out.
I kind of want to cater a little bit to the lower level players. It could be, I'll say around next Thursday, maybe next Friday, somewhere around that time. See, give or take a week, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on. We have one more thing we'd like to get to, and that is viewer question and answer. So if you guys have a question, a topic that you'd like to talk about, a question for any of us, a question for all of us, go ahead and put in Twitch chat. We're keeping an eye on it. While we're waiting for a few questions to come up, let me make a few programming notes. Thank you so much for watching the first episode of Planar Podcast with us right now. We plan on running this about every Thursday. It might change the day depending on what our guest availability is. Myself, Crook, and Evie we have no life. We are open to any time, but our guests are very esteemed and they have very important things going on. So we kind of try to cater to that. So sometime between Thursday and Sunday, we try to run these quests. Please, I'm going to be a little selfish here. Follow my channel, Gavin_XI. This is where we host a podcast. We will run reruns of it. In 12 hours, I'll run a rerun for those of you who are on the opposite side of the planet. And you will be able to find it on YouTube as well. Quick minor plug as well. Once I hit 75 followers, I'll be doing a video game giveaway up to $60 plus tax on the 31st last day of the month. So that applies to all the D&D players as well. We're only 2 followers away from that, so we're almost certainly going to have an end of March giveaway. So that's just some quick programming notes from myself. We have a few questions in Twitch chat. Ro asks, what's the most memorable derail moment in a game in the server as a player or DM? You know what, Rayan, I'm going to take this from you. I'm going to answer first. We
Go for it.
we had a quest called Serendipity on Ice. And the idea was a drunkard throws a dart at my dartboard, and it just so happened to be a key. The key opens a portal on the dartboard that leads to an icy blizzard plane. I don't remember every player. I want to say it was Kai, it was Van, aka King Peacock, a few others, and someone made the joke, I hear a train or something like that. So what does Raiden do? He puts in a train, and halfway through that session, which was serious up until that point, you've got Race attacking us. We ended up fighting Santa. So it doesn't really get much better than that, and I had to bring that story up while Raiden's here. What about you guys?
Raiden, you want to go?
I'm still thinking.
I'm still thinking too.
That one was pretty good. I think it was like actually canon in Text RP for a little bit that King Peacock actually had like a bunch of Mortys running around.
Oh,
What?
so the Santas had elves, and the elves were actually Mortys.
as in Citadel style Mortys, like Rick and Morty's.
Yeah, essentially they went to the Citadel of.
Okay. Okay. So, is this specifically for the server, or is this just in general? Because they have a few.
In the server, but just go ahead and give your D&D career. Just give a quick memorable moment.
Okay. So because I was running a game for a while. That was, well, I'm still technically running, but it's me running a game, which is pretty much just whenever I feel like it, we'll do it. So shut up,
Yeah.
kind of deal.
You're being told you can only talk about the server, so I might
talk
have
with the server.
Go ahead.
That's fine.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Quickly. Chat might not notice if you tell a story quick enough.
It was quick. So I had this whole thing set up where they're going to go into a hospital and kidnap a woman. But instead of doing that, they went and because they were in a town and they were like, yeah, I want to look at every single store right now and I want to rob everyone. And it's a really fun moment where it's like you have the idea for this town that you've built in this place, in this setting that you worked on, but you don't know every single store in this district. So you have to make up shit as you go along. And that was just a real test to getting stuff going and being quick on the draw and stuff like that. It was a good time.
I'm gonna move
I
on
have
to
a
it.
story now.
Go ahead, go for it.
All right. So we had a quest in Pomacos actually, and Connor to initially start off the quest. We were trying to look for Izard's son. The thing is, Leon Akron hates Izard because of some character drama, and so I think it kind of threw Connor. I don't know if it threw Connor off, and I don't know. I'm not Connor. But Leon started saying things like, "Yeah, man, I'll help you guys kill his son. Let me at him. I want to get the first stab." And these guys and these orcs in the front were super duper confused because they were just like, "Weren't you here to rescue him?" He's like, "No, man, fuck that guy. I'm gonna kill him." And I feel like that kind of just out of the nowhere blue sort of thing kind of might have thrown him off a little bit.
So you were the origin of the derail moment in that story.
Oh yeah, that's the origin of that shit. Those orcs didn't know what was coming to them.
Mac asks in chat, what are your opinions on player requests being locked to personal relations? That's a bit more serious of a topic, but we can talk about it a bit. We're an open forum.
Yeah.
Well, player request has always been one of those things that's been up to the player to decide, and it's up to the player to gather the party.
That's really your only chance to do personal quest lines is through player
exactly.
requests.
It is, and you get to choose who you want to be on there.
But the flip side of that is, can you find a DM for it?
Exactly.
Yes. Again, that just goes back to our problem of some player, a lot of player requests, not just some. A lot of player requests aren't getting taken, which kind of sucks. But if it's a personal quest, I think usually people who run personal quests have an idea, right, for what they want to happen in the quest, and so it again triggers more inspiration on the DM to run the game better, I guess, or to actually want to pick up the request. So, yeah, I don't see a problem with it unless it gets literally to the point where the player is only doing player requests with these specific people and this specific DM.
And that's, by the way, the question is personal relations in player requests. In DM quest posting, it's a whole different matter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
That's probably that warrants a topic on its own, and that's
yes.
a much more serious open forum topic. But let's move on to another question. Cosbones asks, who's your character's worst enemy? Pidge. Well, who's Pidge's worst enemy?
It's Travis Willingham.
Travis Willing.
Travis fucking Willingham. He in front of Pidge, flirted with his fiance, and then he fell for it because fucking Rez is a weak man, and
Holy shit.
Oh, you're calling out.
and he was like, "Oh my god!" And fucking Pidge was right there, and he was like, "What the fuck are you doing right here? What are you doing?"
I was there too. I saw it. I saw the whole thing happen. It was on your quest too, Gavin. Actually, it was the arena quest.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then,
Or the PvP
and then
one.
before that, he even took out Ruz right in front of him. It was in your quest, the PvP one, where he made him disappear. And Pidge was like, I don't even care if the other team wins or loses. I just want him dead.
Oh god. Yes, not to be confused with esteemed voice acting talent Travis Willingham.
Avash.
Yeah, no, the character. Travis Willingham.
Avash, who's your worst enemy?
So I have like it's technically not even two, but there's kind of two. One is an in-character thing, which is like his old boss. But a character who's kind of like a rival to Avash is Maria's character Truth, who are currently having the longest game of the silent treatment right now. Where they literally do not talk to each other. Also, it's himself because he's a fucking asshole. Also, dog.
Yeah, there's a
dog.
I closed the door. Dog wants inside.
Max, I love you.
Maxine's my corgi. Check out if you look down in the description. There is a YouTube link, I believe, and we went to Charleston Corgi Con 2 days ago, and it was the best thing ever. But yeah. Go ahead. Leon, who's Leon's worst enemy as I let this dog in the room?
You already answered.
Are we allowed to say like backstory, sort of like this is something that Leon doesn't know, but something that Raiden knows?
If you want to let it out, yeah. You
Well,
want
if
to spoil
it's-
that for everybody.
I mean, if it's who's your worst enemy, who's going to be your worst enemy? I mean,
Well, so there was a portion where some soldiers had like marched into the village he was in, and he was out training, and they killed a bunch of people, and they hung his wow, this is getting pretty deep. Sorry. They hung his like adopted parents, and so when he came back, that devastated him. The person who gave up that information was like the town like leader person who didn't like a human being amongst elves. And so that is probably, when he figures that out, will be his worst enemy.
Ah.
I honestly don't know who Anna's worst enemy is. I kind of have in character. Don't really hate anybody that I can think of that's memorable. There's someone on the server right now who's like, I fucking hate Anna, and I thought we had something, but she's like, I don't give a fuck. Backstory wise, kinda against the system as a whole. System betrayed her and stuff like that. I'll get into that later, but I can't really have any. I've either not developed a single enemy or I'm not going to, so I don't have a good answer for that.
She's kind of in
Okay.
an awkward state with Avash right now, right?
There's awkwardness, but there's like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting over it, but still awkward.
Avash is trying to fucking just pretend like none of that ever happened, and is mostly just kind of like, yeah, he's just moving on from that as a character, and
right.
you can see it as a person where he's just going back into his recklessness.
Which on the flip side, Anna, like, she has way too many things going on at one time, so
That's true.
if you've got something like that going, you know, hey, I recognize that you're having these problems. I don't really have time to dedicate thought to it. I'm sorry.
Of course, yeah.
Not a rude thing, you know. That's what Anna says, you know. It's not what I say. We said that we'd take some chat from off topic.
Yes, I
Toothless
got one.
asks, and thank you, Ron, Neatus Burrito in chat. Shout outs to him for pointing it out as well. And I think Crook, you saw it as well. Go ahead. And,
Yes.
the
I was gonna
question
bring it up,
was,
so Toothless asks, how do you run feel-good encounters? Asking for a friend, I swear.
well, not killing a party member is a really good start.
One is, don't kill people. Do not kill people. But also, I ran a game not too long ago that was what a lot of people considered a feel-good quest. And the reason why I believe it was a quest that made them feel good was because the players felt like they were doing the right thing. And that's just hand in hand. Like, if the players are being the good guys, helping people, being a positive force for the world and the multiverse as a whole, right? Because we're in Sigil, then it makes you feel good out of character. Not only that, have the characters be the good guys working for the good guys, and have them stop forces that are obviously the bad guys. You know what I mean? Like, just be as, I don't want to say cliche, but be as cliche as possible, you know? Because that's all it takes to to feel good and to be happy is just fucking just do good stuff and yeah, help people and shit like that. At least that's how I do it. That's how I did it in that quest. I don't know if there's any other way to do it other than like making quests that aren't combat focused or yeah, like things like that. Just role play centric. Everyone's hanging out by a campfire doing stuff.
I've never really run a quest like this, but I guess one idea would be like if you focus your quest on your characters having actual fun, that might be a good way to start it.
Yes.
Like if I took 4 adventurers and I told them to go off and hunt a bandit, right? They're doing it for gold. They're not doing it for fun, right?
Exactly.
Very rarely. But what if you mentioned the carnival earlier, Raiden? What are quest ideas where, as a character, they have fun? Like, what would you do on a random at the end of a random 10-day, right?
So I recently ran a quest with no combat. I don't know if it was feel good, but the players were able to learn a lot more about the characters.
Just one note real quick. You can tell how Rain is a DMing god because every one of his stories starts. I ran a recent quest where...
Yeah.
God damn it. But it was almost like therapy for them. It was just me asking questions about things. Yeah, they just went into a bunch of rooms that revealed a lot of things, like things they tell themselves that are lies, kind of like delusions that they might have of themselves, shames, guilts. And while all that sounds like, very like sad, there was like a chance for them to begin to overcome these fears, these emotions, and all this stuff. And all the players in the quest were able to there was no combat, there was zero combat, but they learned a lot more about themselves, like as I was asking them these questions. I know Blind was like, I almost cried, and if I was Paris, I would have just died. And I was like, oh shit, I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize.
I don't know if that's feel good or not, but
I think anything that isn't, to me, a feel good quest is a quest where the players aren't just being adventurers, right? Because being an adventurer kind of fucking sucks when you really think about it. You're going out constantly fighting stuff. You're threatening your life all the time, and it's just it's kind of shitty, right? So any quest where you're not doing that, to me, is a feel good quest.
Petting zoo quest, just saying.
that's fair.
Petting zoo quest would be amazing.
Evie.
And then
Just
the
saying.
whole combat is wrangling fucking monsters. That'd be great. Anyway,
Evie, what's your plan or idea for what a feel good encounter feels like?
Right now I'm planning for the Bob Ross plane, which is basically we just sit there and we paint and we beat the devil out of our problems and we talk about all the mistakes that we made and turning them into happy little accidents. So
This is definitely worth a discussion later on, but there is that degree of what how do you run a quest that isn't violent? Doesn't necessarily have to be a puzzle, but
I mean, it's like one of those things where you can have fun without killing an entire, you don't have to kill an entire clan of goblins.
So here's the
You
thing.
can still have fun.
You said don't have combat, but you can have combat, right? Because I remember back in, and Evie was part of this, in another server we were in, someone ran during Christmas time was a snowball fight. And there are special rules for like making snowballs and throwing snowballs.
that's really cool.
And they did like a D4 and stuff.
And they didn't actually kill you, and it was fun.
And they didn't kill you. It was still combat. There were combat rules. Prone making disadvantage on range attacks, but you have advantage on a melee snowball, which you could do. Those are the rules. And just things like that. Like you can have combat, and it doesn't just have to be a snowball fight. You can have it like I said earlier, wrangling things like combat rules, initiative rolls, and stuff. But you're instead of stabbing someone or attacking them with a spell or something, you're swinging a lasso and you're trying to tie people down, or you're doing grapple checks, right? You can have fun in combat, and you can run a non-violent quest and still have combat, because combat doesn't mean violence. I guess in D&D anyway.
That's true. Yeah.
I'd say that pretty much answers that. There's a ton of material there for you, Toothless, to make a feel good encounter.
Also, hi Toothless, I love you.
If you have a snowball fight, it seems to me if you have a snowball fight at a petting zoo, that's about as optimal as you can
Yeah,
get.
basically.
Literally optimal feel good.
And then
Snowball
Bob
fight.
Ross in the background.
Bob Ross shows up.
There's a question over here specifically calling out me apparently, and Evie, and I guess Crook in this, which is the
All right, cool. Just calling us out.
wasn't
Okay.
able to make it to the quest where you guys found Ace. What happened? Was
Oh
he bad?
yes, he was fucking
He was a hottie hot, and also he was fucking drunk. He stole Avash's wallet, which I thought was hilarious.
literally stole my wallet, and then gave it back to me when I told him I was gonna buy his drinks, and I was pissed.
Yeah, his literal words were like, "Oh, well, you're gonna need this back then," and he gave him his wallet back, and I was like, "Wow."
And the funny thing is, Avash carries all his money on him, so fucking that would have been
Yep.
broke. So I'm glad that
Wow.
didn't happen.
How did he steal a giant ass gold sack like that?
Listen, actually, I was broke at the time.
Oh, okay, got it. Cool,
He's
cool,
a
cool.
wizard.
Being
He
a
has no
wizard
money.
sucked. But no, he was a cool dude. He was very strong. Like when we were fighting an actual demon lord, and he was just like, "Yeah, I got this guy," and it was just those two beating each other up the entire time. And the only time that the demon lord actually attacked us was through legendary actions, which I think is a pretty cool way to do a set piece encounter. If I'm being totally honest, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, I did have a little worries, but like I guess the players told me that it was still cool. That like the hero and that demon were kind of stealing the show a little bit, and I didn't like that was happening. I probably should have tossed a little bit more minions for them to fight, like as a side thing. But you know, things to learn.
Yeah. It
I
was definitely a good time.
think that not to ruin the party because I was the only one. I'm the only one who's clueless there, but we do need to wrap up.
Yes.
First off, Raiden, thank you for joining us this this session. If you had a question that we did not get to, ask again next week. We do have a kind of a time limit we're trying to hit, trying to keep these short and digestible. So again, thank you, Raiden, for coming. Do you have any shout outs you'd like to give?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I want to thank you guys for starting this up and coming up with this idea. Very appreciative to.
It's all Gavin.
Yeah, definitely. Shout outs. I would like to shout out to, typically my mom. She's a great influence on my life.
I
My
could
pet
feel
dog,
it
my cat.
entering your voice. I could feel it. You were like,
Arbitrary mom.
Thrar wanted to shout out, so I'm gonna say what's up, my dude. I'll see you tonight. Shout out to everyone else. Shout out to Guile. Thanks for making the server the way it is, and bringing your little hobby to life and having everyone enjoy it. And Hob for helping him out with that.
Oh yeah, shout outs to Hob.
Crook.
Fucking-
Hi, Hub.
do I get shout outs too? Or
Yeah.
fucking shout outs
Yeah.
to Hob?
Yeah.
Because I love that boy. Shout outs to the server, because you're my favorite people, and I literally don't do anything else. It's a sad existence, but it's an existence nonetheless. Shout outs to Toof, because Toof's a good friend. Shout outs to the back alley. And yeah.
Eve.
Hi. Shout outs to all the fucking artists on the server. They're fucking
Yes.
just mad people. They just draw, like, Vincent can't make it a lot, but he draws just all the time, and he shows us his beautiful artwork, and I love it.
Yes. I love it.
Everybody makes fan art, and that's awesome. Like, there's one of Sophie and Avash kissing. They're not
So-
canon.
There's so many. There's like
There's so
two or
many
three of
Sophie
them.
and
So when someone makes art like that, do you make it your goal to make that canon at that point?
No, you can't though.
Deep in
'Cause it's-
deep in my heart, I want it to be canon. But she is dating Leon Akram right now.
I didn't know that. Okay.
But it's like that.
It's kind of just a meme.
I want to give
Yeah.
I want to give some quick shout outs. Crook, Evie, thank you so much for joining us on this endeavor for the Planar Podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone on the server. Thank you so much to the audience for really showing us that this is something you guys want. We'd love to take advice on what you guys think we could do better. If you have any topics you really want us to comment on, let us know. Any guests that you want to see. We haven't announced next week's guest. We're still trying to line that up. keep an eye out early on the week, and about Monday, we'll post a time for the show and who our guest is. Quick shout out to Nias Burrito, aka Sinosure, aka Rom.
Yes, my
He
boy.
kind of keeps
Ron, I
my
love him.
he keeps my stream running in the background. Love that guy. Always a pick me up. But that's the show for today. We did hit personal quick programming note. We hit 77 followers today, so that does trigger that event on the 31st of Saturday. Probably a stream start at 11 p.m. We'll be doing about an hour of video games, followed by a game giveaway up to $60 plus tax. So come around for that. Thank you so much to everyone who's watching for just for me personally for that. But with that, we're gonna go ahead and sign off, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
Guys.
Ping
A
us,
game to get to. Bob.
ping us on
Game.
server, and we'll see you all next time.
See you in the
Bye.
Bye.